Hello, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and Evolution Revolution. And we are reading Neil Donald Walsch's book called The Storm Before the Calm. It seems very appropriate with what's going on around the world right now. And I'm going to turn it over to Linda here in just 1 minute, and she'll get us up to speed on what page we're on, and she'll get the show on the road here. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see new faces. Thanks for being here. Okay, Linda.
Okay, so we are reading The Storm Before the Calm, Conversations with Humanity, Book 1. And I'm going to back up. We're on page 55, but I'm just going to back up to give us a lead-in paragraph. So I'm going to start on page 54. I think it's the last. And this would be, I believe this is Neil speaking here. But let me ask you a question. What do you think this world would be like if we did worship other people as if they were God? Do you think we'd have more wars or less? Do you think we'd have more arguments, more fights, more terror, more violence, or less? That isn't the point. It isn't? Then what is? The point is that the way to have less violence, fewer wars, and a better world is to listen to God and do what God says, not try to be God. You want us to run around thinking that we are God? Good grief. Let me move in a different direction for a moment. Are not happy. In fact, most are not happy. Can we agree on that? Can we not? Yes, we can agree on that. The world's a mess. And so we live in a society whose members are lashing out in frustration and anger, in defensiveness. People do not see humanity as having had a role in creating the world like that. What can we do in the global conversations I'm suggesting is keep talking about who we are and about the ability that we have to recreate our world anew if we simply embrace the highest truths about who we are. If you're saying we should be talking about being God, I'm not going to be able to get behind that. I can support trying to make the world a better place, but I can't support going around talking nonsense. I appreciate you being so clear, but you know it was George Bernard Shaw who famously observed, all great truths begin as blasphemies. So I want to simply notice that most every new idea is going to sound like nonsense to some people, especially if it's an idea about us and God. I know that what is being said here, that we are all divine, runs counter to our current cultural, our present cultural story, our present understanding. It violates our values. It shakes us up. It even gets some of us mad. But I always look closely at the ideas that make me angry. Anger is the first sign that I may be looking at something I don't want to look at, and that I may be confronting something that challenges some pretty fundamental idea I hold. This is not always the case, but I've learned that it's true a lot of the time when somebody says something or proposes something that makes me angry. So I don't walk away from an idea that makes me angry. I walk into it. I explore it. Maybe there's something there for me. Maybe there's something for me to look at more closely. If not, what's the harm? If I've done nothing but reaffirm my prior belief and now hold it more closely, wouldn't that be a good thing? All great truths begin as blasphemies. I'm proposing here that we not be afraid to talk a little nonsense now and then, because as a part of our conversation around such thoughts, we can sometimes get to something that is sense, or we can discover that the nonsense was not nonsense after all. For instance, I want to suggest that part of humanity's problem right now is that it has a decidedly wrong set of priorities. Points I hope you'll remember. Little conversations start big revolutions. Change begins when a few people notice something they will no longer tolerate, or when they respond to someone's dream of what's possible. Sharply divided opinions, such as those we are seeking increasingly in the world today, are sure signs that an era is ending. Anger is a good indicator that there may be something for you to look at more closely. Action, I hope you will take. Make a list of the last 5 opinions, comments, or ideas that you can remember dramatically disagreeing with. Look at those comments or opinions again and see if there's anything important life is trying to say to you about these objects or subjects. Use Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, MySpace, and other social media to spread the word about the global conversation and its website at www.theglobalconversation.com. End of chapter.
I was just going to add something really quick. I know this because I used to run this website that he's talking about here. That no longer exists. The global conversation. So don't write that down. Don't make note of it. It didn't take off like he thought it might. So it's no longer. Everybody hear that? Okay.
I have, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay, I came in a bit late, so apologies for that, but it just brought something to my mind there. Let's see now, I'm forgetting now what I'm going to say. I've just forgotten what I was going to say. I'm having that kind of moment.
I'm glad somebody else has them besides me.
All right, let's see now, it seemed important. All right, I'll have to let somebody else talk. I'll try and get my brain in order. See. Just disappeared.
May I ask a question? Did somebody say that the globalconversation.com is not active anymore?
Yes, that's me, Nanette. Yes, that is correct. It's no longer.
Yes, said that.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Let me put my. That's me.
Oh yes. I remember what I was going to say. Can I say it? Okay. Let's see.
Go ahead.
But the global conversation. Oh yes, I was listening. Can I say? I was listening to this woman on the radio, and anyway, the long and the short of it, I forget now. But she went into something. Oh, she was like, I think she used to do tests on animals. So she went into something with a point of view. Well, she went into something with one point of view, that this was all valid and everything. But through learning and experience she had, I think, working with orangutans or something, through actual experience of heart, I a heart connection with the animals, she came out from there with a different point of view. So it wasn't, she came out understanding things differently, and she couldn't carry on doing the experiments she was doing anymore. So it happened through a relationship of the heart with the animals. Yeah. I think that's where the grassroots, yes, I think that's where, because people have to, our hearts, we have to stop using our heads, and our hearts have to communicate to each other. And then there's you can't change it. It's not negotiable anymore. Then it's just not. You can't say one thing and mean another. It just can't do it. Okay, thanks.
Well, that could make my verbal communication problematic. Because I do what you just said all the time. And you know, you're losing your train of thought, and I do that, and now I'm going to be thinking about this other thing that you mentioned. Anybody bring up some great points. Anybody else want to respond to that? Well, at any rate,
I sort of understand.
I was just going to say, Anne, it's nice to see
Can
you
I-
here. Go ahead.
Will I say something? I know why that is, because we have, it's really an education system. We have to cut ourselves off from our bodies. We're disconnected. The whole of the system we live in, it reinforces that. And there is a way of going back, getting back into your body again. So the only way, like, I've done a lot of work on working with this. So the only way I really get it, when who's doing the work, we can think what we like and we can have lots of lovely thoughts and everything. But if we don't embody it, it doesn't make any difference, because we haven't engaged it. Do you know what I mean? We haven't materialized it by not putting it in the body. But the video, you know, that Master Ming Tong, I'll send the link again. So he knows how to do it, and I know how to do it through him. But of course, he's the expert. I'm the student. You start with sound healing. It's wonderful, but we have to relearn. We have to renew ourselves. So it's the Chi Center, you know, in Santa Fe. That's where he is, and he has these free sessions on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and it's brilliant. And you need to start. You start there, and then you can go into it further. But no matter what we think, and I've listened to beautiful things and everything, and nice meditations and everything, if it doesn't go from here into your body, nothing changes. But Ming Tong knows how to do it. It's ancient wisdom from China, ancient, from Lao Tzu's time, Confucius, you know, really, really important stuff. And it's marvelous, and we need to work it all the time, because we are out of harmony. I'm talking too much now, but we're like inside your body, inside all our bodies, we have an orchestra of organs, and they must be calibrated sort of by fellow, conducting the orchestra, and he makes a beat through our heart, and that comes from the sacred information, wisdom, the wisdom of the heart. And the sounds are made in the body by ourselves through our organs to create peace and harmony inside with the orchestra of organs that we have internally. And then they release their wisdom and confidence and courage and ability to transform and work with the sacred order and be able to be, we now become the gods, that the God within, because we couldn't communicate before because we're disconnected, because we thought we were gods up in our heads, but we can't be the gods until we become embodied. And it's wonderful. And it's also helped, that's a beginning. There are other ways of releasing everything and being able to truly live with the joy and the loving kindness and the connection with ourselves and with the whole of nature and each other and everything. So I just want to say all that, but I understand it and I'm working it myself. And so are a lot of people, yeah. Okay. That's enough.
And can I ask you, who is the conductor? Are we ourselves the conductor of the orchestra?
Well,
okay. You're working your internal organs. You're making sounds internally with your mouth. You start off making a sound, singing a sound to your heart, and the heart starts the conducting of all the other organs, because the wisdom, the ancient wisdom, the wisdom that's to come through us, not just out of your head, through us, like it's got to come through us. That's got to come through the heart. Connected, it comes in here, but it gets connected to the heart. And then, but the heart sort of sets the beat for the whole of the orchestra here. And then you make ancient sounds into each organ. It's wonderful. Everyone can do it. And everyone can do it. You just learn it and you do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Suzanne, I think what I really like is that you found a passionate experience. And what it is that if you listen to her, the level that she's resonating from the energy that working in this way gives to her. And what I see how I see it is that our breath, that we don't, it's like we're there. It's called somatic experience. So it's the body and the mind, and it goes to the heart. So in simplicity, all you have to do is use your breath, and what sound is audible breath. It doesn't matter. You can even start with the vowels, and that's all I have to say about that. But yes, it's the resonant field that when you connect to that, it expands your system. I just see that we're open and closed systems. And so the other work, I don't know what your work was continuum movement, where she did a lot of studies on this. I don't know if that made any sense. I think it's a beautiful way, though, to relate to yourself differently, and that perception changes the way you see the world. You soften, you have to slow down, really slow. Anyway. Over.
Anybody else? Well,
Yes, Annette, I have
go
something
ahead.
to say. I actually came late. I came late as well, and I wanted to just mention before we started, but never mind. last week we read chapter 7 or conversation 7, and we covered the 7, I'm just looking at now, the 7 simple questions, the 3 persistent questions, and the 4 fundamental questions of life. And I feel that we didn't really cover those. I think they're really, really important, and we didn't really sort of discuss them at all or have any sort of conversation over them. And I felt that at the end of the call last week, and I was but I thought, well, I've got all week now to think about that. And funnily enough, I didn't actually think about it until today before we came on the call. But I do think that's something that we really should think about, those 7. They're really important. And Neil says at the end of that conversation, he says, read the 7 simple questions over and over until you can recite them verbatim. And ask yourself these questions and search deeply within your soul for the answers. Write your answers in a notebook, so that you may be very clear what your responses are, and so that you may refer to them over time, such as a year from now, to see what, if anything, has changed in your perceptions. Be prepared to offer the answers you have come up with as you explore these questions within others. And I just wonder if anyone else here has had any thoughts on those questions, and did they give them any thought? Like I said, I certainly have before our call today, but I just wondered if anyone has any sort of take on that. Over.
What chapter was it?
Well, let me help by reviewing. So it's chapter 7. The actual 7 simple questions start on page 43. So there's 3 persistent questions, and those are: 1, how is it possible that 6.9, and it would be up to 7 point whatever, billion people can all claim to want the same thing, peace, security, opportunity, prosperity, happiness, and love, and be singularly unable to get it? That's the first question. The second of the 3 persistent questions is it possible that there is something we do not fully understand about life, the understanding of which would change everything? And then the third is it possible that there is something we do not fully understand about ourselves, about our own life and its purpose, the understanding of which would shift our reality and alter our experience for the better forever? And then the 4 fundamental questions of life are: who am I? Where am I? Why am I where I am? And what do I intend to do? What do I intend to do about that? Now, the 4 fundamental questions, these come up in other books of Neil's.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a constant theme that he comes back to over and over again. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I where I am? And what do I tend to do about it? And then the other 3 are the more overarching.
Yes.
My answer to the first question, which I gave some thought to, is that I believe I am infinite awareness living in an infinite field of possibilities. And in this current incarnation, my name is Angela Means. But that's who I believe I am. Over.
Will you say that again, Anne?
Well, I don't mean
Or
to
Angela.
oversimplify the answer to the first question, but it just...
Sorry, Nanette, both yourself and Linda spoke at the same time?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you could
Go
repeat
ahead,
yourself, Angela, that'd be great. No worries, Linda. Angela?
Did you say, can I repeat myself
Yes.
about who I am?
Yes.
Yes, I believe that I am infinite awareness, living in an infinite field of possibility, currently in an incarnation called Angela Means, living on a planet called Earth. Over.
Thank you. Linda, you were going to add or say?
I was just going to say that I don't mean to oversimplify the answer to the first question. How is it possible that 6.9 billion people can all claim to want the same thing and be singularly unable to get it? But I think the answer to that is because people don't understand what's happening here on Earth.
Agreed.
And I just feel like that answers the other two questions as well. Like if everyone understood what was happening here, then all of this would shake itself out pretty quickly.
Could I speak again? Am I taking too much time?
No,
No,
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's great. I love all that. But the thing is, we say these lovely things and it's wonderful, but it's being able to being able to work it. Okay. So how I understand, I just done a course with Master Ming Tong at the Chi Center, online course with him. And it's called a retreat, but it's intensive. So, but anyway, what I've understood from it a bit more, because I've been doing other things as well, but what I understand is our bodies, you see, we are given, this is our, God is to be expressed through this amazing, we're like Ferraris, it's like a super amazing creation, this super amazing creation. We don't know how to use it, and the thing is, you have to learn how to release the blockages. Okay, so I'm just trying to explain a little bit here, because I started to understand people were asking about racism in the course. They were asking about racism, and I start to realize and understand that we are blocked. Our energy are blocked, particularly it's called a protector, but the protector is fear. Fear is the protector, and it blocks up your kidney function, and then we're like a plant. The irrigation system isn't working. With the irrigation system isn't working, the lungs that are the tree, this is the tree, we are a plant, right? The lungs are like a tree. The tree starts withering, and with the withering of the tree, which are the lungs, goes the withering of the ability to have compassion and to work from the heart. And when we don't work from the heart and the compassion, the tree is dying, and we become very violent and harsh, and we're not working. We don't know how to work the compassion, because the tree of life, which is in our lungs, like I think Anne was saying about the breathing, but you see, it's a whole system. What Master Ming Tong does is a whole system. I mean, to rework us so you can unroll each human being at a time, so the light can pour through us, and we can act. We can really, operate like the Ferraris that we are. Do you see what I mean? So basically, you're blocked by protectors. So whatever you're protecting yourself with starts blocking you up. But fear in particular is big. It's a big one. And then you're not able to act with the compassion. And of course, the compassion lies behind the heart being able to express itself. And the wisdom can't come through. The wisdom, all these things come through us. They don't belong in the Ferrari. They have to come through us. But when the Ferrari is blocked, when all the pipes are blocked, the actual information can't come through the pipes because the pipes are all blocked. That's enough for me. I'll have to shut up because I'm blocking everybody. But just...
I would say that, yes, you're right, that fear is a big one. And fear of dying, I think, is the main issue. And if people realize that we don't ever die, then we would eradicate this fear, if just people realize that. ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of mass education.
Yes.
That's right. And that's why I say I think it's important that we look at these questions to know where we're at, to have these conversations, have these conversations with people so we know where we're at and what we believe. Over.
Well, so now we're looking at the next question. The where am I?
Oh,
Is
I
that
was
what we're
just
doing?
going to make a comment on what we were just talking about, because I do think it is a struggle between the light and dark, and in knowing that death is a part of life. And like I said last week, I lost my mother. And so I've just been thinking of the different realms of existence. And I really just think that death is the next step after life, where it's just the next journey. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in. Over.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Anne, you didn't lose your mother. You lost her physical form, but your mother is still with you.
Absolutely. That's what I was, absolutely. She lived so deep in my heart, and all those moments and all that wisdom, her essence lives in eternity. And for the people whose lives she touched, they're in her heart. It's like that's where the person ends up, is in your heart, like a shared love. Over.
I just want to share my Harry Potter quote that Dumbledore said, "To a well-organized mind, death is merely the next great adventure." And I just love that so much. You know, most people are afraid of death because they don't understand, like Linda said, that that's not the end. We're just changing form. And if more people truly felt that way, I think that huge fear attached to death would be less charged. People still might be afraid, but it wouldn't have the same charge. Thank you. Any excuse to share my Dumbledore quote.
I love that quote. One of the things I was going to say is because we've got this pandemic going on around the globe, and particularly in a bad way in the U.S. And I just kind of shut down when I start thinking about, if it can happen, what can happen. Because I've got problems breathing as it is. And when I think about, if I go too far into thinking about the COVID-19, then I can get myself going and moving towards panic. And then panic causes me not to be able to breathe. Not being able to breathe causes me panic. It's this really vicious cycle. And it's something that I've got to like slap myself around and go, stop. Because it's not easy to get out of that kind of cycle. So in the who am I, that's something I need to think about more than, I need to think about it more, and I do think we need to address these questions. But if I'm really honest, I did not look at this between last week and this week. Over.
I don't know. One of the things yesterday that was really strange was seeing July 4th canceled all over the state of Florida, and really realizing because that was a special holiday for me, the shift. And so they could be looked at another way, the freedom to look within. But the other thing is that I'm not ever in trouble when I'm in right now, hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys, listening to you guys, everything's fine. But when I start to think about the past, or I start to think about the future, that's where all the emotional illusion kind of starts to run. It's sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So stay in the day. And
Oh, I'm talking again, sorry. So behind the lung problem, and Nanette and everybody, behind the lung problem is because we're not allowed to grieve. There's a whole load, it might not even, well, there's bound to be, you're bound to have, it's impossible not to have grief. And even when especially grief we don't know anything about, and it comes through the generations, and it comes through us through the generations as well. And we live in a society that doesn't grieve, and if you are grieving, they kind of shy away from you. And I know a person, oh yeah, I'm talking too fast. The outcome is lung problems. Grief goes to your lungs. They always knew this in ancient China. Fear goes to your kidneys, grief goes to your lungs. That's why I mentioned those two systems, but I forget to explain all the details. So really, when you remember you are grieving, but you're not allowed to grieve, your plant, which is your lungs, are your tree is withering because you're not allowed to grieve. So that's why you need a system that you have to recover. We have to come home to our bodies and we have to find what's in the Ferrari. Do you know what I mean? We're a Ferrari. I've never had a Ferrari, but I mean, apparently it's amazing vehicles. So we're these amazing vehicles, right? But we don't know we don't really know where the controls are. We don't quite know how to work them. That's all it is. And we don't know, because we don't know, we also don't know a whole lot of things. Of course, it's heartbreaking when somebody dies, and we can't touch them anymore. And what's heartbreaking for me is I always used to touch people. I did massage and aromatherapy, and I haven't touched anybody since March. And one night it came upon me like a despair, like, oh my God, just like a hopelessness. So I'm just sort of saying all those things, but just so you know, we have to come back into our bodies, and we have to discover, excitingly discover the Ferrari that we live in, and then activate it, and then live it. And lo and behold, even one person just activating it is a knock-on effect for the next person. Do you know what I mean? We open the door for the next person. It's very exciting, Nanette. It's okay to have your symptoms. They're only symptoms. They're only symptoms. That's all they are. Everything is can be remedied. And Master Ming Tong, he gets people recover through his system from Parkinson's, cancer, God knows what, multiple sclerosis, and they become teachers, and they start teaching everybody else and coaching and everything. It's super wonderful, and it's ancient, and it just requires, of course it's not like easy, but it's not hard either. It's just dedication. And it's amazing. Who knows what we'll discover? Master Ming Tong is still discovering new things about his own system that he's living in. It's wonderful. I'll tell you, it's wonderful. So your lungs can be recovered. Everything is recoverable. That's enough from me.
I'll just give you a little CWG.
I want to.
I'll just give a quick little CWG quote. health will improve almost at once when worrying ends. Okay.
Helen.
I was just going to say that thank you, Ann Darby, for sharing that. Grief is what blocks the heart chakra. And so what we're talking about throughout all of these books is an opening of our hearts, right? And what you're touching upon is one of the key problems when we're trying to open up our hearts, is if we have any unprocessed grief, it will get in the way and it will keep us from being able to tune our heart chakra and get love flowing to the level that it would naturally were it not blocked. So that's a real key element that you're bringing up, this issue of grief.
And
the other thing that came to me is that by driving us into this solitary environment that we're in, what is being opportuned to us is the ability to learn that we're not our bodies and to move into the field that Rumi talks about. Because one way you can heal your grief is to make the realization that they're not gone and that you can connect with those people even in a non-physical form. And so I almost feel as if this virus is partially trying to do that, right? Drive us into a solo situation that then forces us to acknowledge that we are more than this housing, as Ann Darby's talking about. We're Ferraris, and we act like we're VW bugs, you know? So that solitary situation that we're being forced into is a tool, I think, of that God is using to allow us to connect in that non-physical way, to learn that there is that non-physical way to connect. Over.
Thank you. That was a really good point.
Can I share something?
Yes, Eva, go ahead.
Okay, do you hear? Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
No, and wait a second. Bima's saying something.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Go ahead, Bima.
Yeah, okay. Because in my whole life, since I was a child, I have been channeling messages that I have been writing down or remembers. And then when I read books, it becomes mirrors for me. And I remember when I got a message about death when my father died when I was 14. And it was told me very clearly, showed me, I could feel it, that because somebody is dying, we don't need to close our heart. Our love can still be there. So the healing process, and that is even in a separation from someone that we have loved and somebody who is doing bad, what we find not good things against us. If I close my heart, if I let my heart love be open, I heal that wound. And I just wanted to say it's because that's the way I have been able to hold the love in my heart. I don't need to feel the person there. I can just be in the love connection. From my heart is open to that love. Then I feel peaceful about even my daughter and my father or my mother or all who have died. That's one thing. And another thing is that if I tell people you should or we are, it's so different. Some people are very open and have been, are mystics who have been living, and many indigenous people have had this experience of being one in the oneness. And if that happens, to me it has happened so many times that I come to that state of mind or state of spirit or whatever you call it, and even since I was a little child. I mean, I was only 3 years old when I had it first time, and then it happened again and again. And that has led me to books that mirrors that state and get strength into it. And that I know that I'm here for being in that field. It's not so easy, but as soon as somebody tells me that you are or we should, I withdraw somehow, because it's more the divine says, here we are. And the divine in me is the teacher or the guide. And basically it's me, but it is in being in the body is a separation, can be a separation. If we can open, if it's possible, I don't know, I cannot do it all the time because I'm in the human world, but I am reminded all the time that that is the only way I can contribute to a change for humanity. It is to connect to that, to be there, to live from there, and see this. When I look at all of you here now, if I know that, oh, you are source in other manifestations, and I look out here to the trees, today it has been blowing and they move like that, and I see they are individuals in a different aspect, but they are also part of this cosmic body that my body is part of. So I think that there are many ways to reach that state. Yeah, that I just wanted to share because it came up in my heart when I was listening. So over. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And then Anne Laura, I think you were going to say something.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Over.
Okay. Does
Yep.
anybody else have anything to say?
I wanted to follow up from what Angela said about the fundamental questions. And the last question on the 4 fundamental questions of life is the third one is, why am I where I am? And finally, what do I intend to do about that? And I was wondering, what choices do we have in answer to those 2 questions? You know, do I have a choice? I'm on this planet. Do I have a choice about that? If I want to leave this planet, can I leave it? I mean, I don't have a spaceship that I can just say, okay, toodaloo, thank you very much, planet Earth. I want to jump in my spaceship and just go elsewhere, or you know, I'm just wondering if anybody else has some thoughts about what do I intend to do about that? What can I do about that? I would like to know.
Well, I can't provide you with the transportation per se, but I've been thinking about the fact that the way we can leave is through meditation and reading, being in a group like this where we're talking to each other, and being able to, well, here's a for instance, I live in the United States, and this is the first 4th of July, yesterday, that I really didn't feel like celebrating that day. There were too many negativities connected to it, but I couldn't get away from it. And I'm in a hospital because I broke my hip. And so I'm with a lot of different people, and nobody's allowed to come or go because it's on lockdown. And I've been trying to think of how can I get to places when my Ferrari's in the garage. And so for me, it's reading and or writing. And that's very simplistic. Throw you a bone answer to your question. Over.
Wrong thing. Okay. when I was sick and I couldn't do anything and I was just in bed, you can always use your attention and your breath. And what you do is you just drop in, and there's a biological intelligence. It's your parasympathetic nervous system that wants to slow down. And there's constant, you're 80% water. And so there's fluidity, there's the craniosacral fluid. So you don't need to read or study or anything. You can just go to your heart and drop in and notice and just be aware. And you can use a little movement and then stop. You use attention, open attention, and what's going on without me, and attention. Okay, I'll move my finger. Okay, now how did that make me feel? You just keep it simple. And about your question, I was thinking, well, you do the best you can with what you got from where you are. Over.
Thank you.
I'll say something as well. So when we're stuck, you know, like Nanette is stuck in the hospital, you know, I call those, in my mind, that's the prison, that's the danger prison for me, in my mind. But what you've got to do then is, and people have done it, and they come out with some great insights. You visualize into what you would love, what you would absolutely love, and you start working with what would I love, what would I love, what would I love, and you start, you know, putting it down, writing it down, and just keep growing it, building it, and build this plant, the one that I love, what I love, what do I love, what do I love, what would I absolutely love? It doesn't matter how crazy it is, what would I love? And then you work with that, and you work with it through the visualization, and just keep working with it. You may start making a poem, you may start making a story, but you're going to grow something, you're going to materialize like something, and then your cells are going to be lighting up inside. They're going to start, they love the love, so they love the love. So basically, that, I think that's it. We love the love. We will start flourishing. Pump love everywhere. Pump love everywhere. When you go to the shop, pump love everywhere. That's I think a good and pump love into yourself, and realize kind of the effect of different thoughts, the thoughts that make you feel contracted. You must, you know, turn them round, and we can say, up until now it affected me this way, but now I can expand this. You know, I can think, what would I love, and let me work into that, and you'll start feeling more expanded. And by feeling more expanded, you'll breathe better, and things will start moving. I'm going to stop now.
Well, thank you. And I know we could go on with this for another hour, but Shabana, I'm going to get her to start our, excuse me, to start our meditation. If anybody else has anything to say before she gets started. Okay, everybody go on mute and we'll listen to Shabana. Take it away.
Lord God, Anne Darby's been complaining that she hasn't been able to touch anyone, and Annette feels like her Ferrari is parked in the garage, and everyone's got something to bitch about. However, the fact is that Anne's touched all of us, and this is a song that every child sings in Canada anyway. Love is something, if you give it away, you end up having more. So contrary to what Anne thinks she's doing, she's touched us, and her loving, generous vibration has joined our hearts. So right here, right now, we thank you that Nanette Kennedy already knows what Anne was talking about. What do I love? What do I love? What do I love? Well, Nanette's been writing a book of short stories, so that's what she loves. And Mohan wants to take a trip to somewhere. And I'm just glad he took a trip to this Zoom call because we're happy to have him. We need every heart here, all hearts on deck. So let's just merge Anne's, Mohan's, Nanette's, Linda's, Anne Laura's, Angela Means, and Mary's, and of course, Bima and me. Now, Angela's been seriously considering these questions, and I think what she said was, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and that, I mean, she said it very politely, but basically she thinks she's God. And I know we're God, and you know we're God. And Bima knows that everyone's living right here, right now. And I don't know what we can do about it other than be extremely happy and grateful. So let's do that for the meditation. Amen. All done.
Thank you, Shavana.
You're
And
welcome.
Thank you.
What's that?
That's a happy noise from Linda.
Oh. Linda, it looked like you just popped into your chair. Anyway, I agree with what Angela was saying about paying attention to those, the set of 3 and then the set of 4 questions. Because I've heard Neil talk about this, and he says, and this wasn't recently, but this was a couple of years back, that if you're not answering those questions, you might as well not finish reading the book, because you really need to have those questions at some level. And there's not a right answer, but you need to have been thinking about it. So I'm thinking that we should be thinking about it all week, and then next week we can talk about it a little bit again, and we'll try to get the next chapter read as well. But if we're in the mode of discussing, I don't think we've ever been so stringent that we've interrupted great conversation for reading the book. So we'll just play it by ear and see what happens. And we'll all pretend to have, I'm going out to my garage right now to get my Ferrari. So
You're sounding pretty happy, Nanette.
Well, it's because I found out I had a Ferrari in the garage.
We have to blame Anne for that.
Yeah, that's a good one. All righty, everybody. Love you all, and we'll
You
see you
are.
soon next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love you all.
Bye.
Much love.
Love you
Lots
all.
of love.